Hello there everyone, welcome back to SBID, or Story Breaks It Down, number 8, which is the series that I like to have on my channel where I talk about stuff that I find interesting, or stuff that happens in either the video game industry or mostly movie industry. And for this topic, it's basically a follow-up from months ago on the whole James Gunn firing thing, which was, I believe, my first video in this series, because that whole situation made me be like, you know what, I want to have a series like this where I just give my thoughts on some of this stuff in the industry. And I didn't do one when he was rehired because everyone and their mother did. I did give a reaction thing on Twitter. So if you were to follow me on Twitter, I did it there. But here, I mean, after seeing this interview and the article and I'm reading it, I'm like, this is some really powerful stuff. So I thought I would give my thoughts on the overall thing. Now, this was from Deadline, so I highly recommend you check out Deadline's interview and article. I mean, I basically, as you're about to see, I basically show the whole thing for you guys to read for yourself here because I just find it really great. But if you want to go check it out for yourself as well, I highly recommend it. Give them a view, I guess. I don't know how those work on that. But yeah, so with that said, let's just get right into the video. So as you can see here, there's some people that were reporting on this interview that James Gunn did since all the drama that happened with him being fired and coming back. And I remember when it happened, I'd say a few days after or right around that time, I posted my video on it. Now, to be fair, I look back on that video and I'm like, I don't really like it that much, honestly, because I made it right in the moment, kind of like when a lot of people were talking about it, and it was just a bunch of scrambled thoughts that I didn't really have a full grasp of the situation. And I seemed to be mostly harsh, and I think I was kind of like, well, he did do all this, so bye. But when I just look back on the whole thing, I had no idea that those were like a decade ago, I believe. I mean, I think I might have known, but what I really didn't know is that they knew that he did that when they hired him in the first place. So that just added a whole new layer of how bad the situation was overall handled. But as you see when I dive into this article and interview or whatever by Deadline, that there's more to the story. And I think that how James Gunn handled the situation, I thought was really professional and really well done. And just how they were able to fix all this drama and how he's able to still do both films, I thought that was really great. But I gotta say, I really liked how he just put himself out there during this whole situation. Like during this interview, I like how he put himself out there and explained and probably opened up to some really dark stuff that he was going through in his past and stuff, and how he regretted all the stuff they did. I just thought that was really that could be really intense. So a lot of people probably wouldn't want to say that kind of stuff about themselves and talk about that kind of stuff because he'd be very awkward and all. So for him to do that, I think was really important to let people know about the overall situation. So yeah, let's dive into some of the stuff. So he was asked, of course, a bunch of questions, and he just answered them. I mean, honestly, the questions that were asked and all, I think could have been a whole lot worse and more like awkward. But I thought the interviewer, when asking these questions to him, I thought was really good, and he didn't really need to really discuss all this. So for him to do an interview like this, to really just lay it out all flat about the whole situation, I think was really good for him, because I mean, it's already months ago when he was rehired and the whole drama's past. They could have just not talked about it, just moved on, pretend it didn't happen. But he's acknowledging what happened and his part in the whole thing. So I think that was really good for him to do. But yeah, one of the questions was like, how'd you feel when you were invited back? And he admitted that, well, he didn't think that he would be able to come back. Like when he thought what would happen, like once it happened when he was fired, he's like, oh, my career's over, and he wasn't expecting to be able to come back. But like a lot of people were saying, like how Alan Horn, who's the head guy that fired him in the first place and is the head of all the movie divisions and all that kind of stuff, he saw how he handled the situation, because when James Gunn got fired, all he did was just apologize and then quiet, nothing for months. And he could have handled it a lot worse. A lot of people probably would have handled it differently. I know I would have been really, angry and all. and hot-headed. So I think how he handled it was really good. Yeah, basically, he compares it as well to like when he got divorced with his wife. He compares it to like that kind of situation where I was like, whoa. Like he goes really deep into this, and I mean, I feel kind of bad for the guy. Like it's obvious that he's gone. He has some inner turmoil in his past. He's gone through some stuff, but I mean, yeah, it just gets really deep. Like, I mean, if you want to check out the article, Deadline posted it literally, I think yesterday. So I'd give it a read, but I'm just going over the brief stuff through it. But this is basically the basics of what they were discussing. Yeah, so here's what I was talking about how he was saying how this was like the most intense day of his life. He was really nervous about the whole situation. He doesn't blame anyone. That's the most important part. He takes full responsibility for what happened. He even agrees with Disney. He's like, yeah, you had the right to fire me. And he had this dread about, oh no, I've been fired by Disney. My career's over. So just a lot of emotions going on naturally, because when I first heard when this broke out, it wasn't even hours. Like when it first heard that the guy was reposting the stuff that he said and all and bringing it to light after a political scuffle on Twitter, and then not even a day or later, it was like a few hours at most, it was said he was fired. And I was like, what? It happened way too fast. So I can't imagine being in his shoes, being like, 1 minute you're working for Disney and you're in this position to shepherd the MCU and worked really closely with Kevin Feige and all that kind of stuff, to being just immediately fired. It's pretty crazy, and I can't imagine. And he compares to other stuff that he's gone through, like he's like, it's the most intense day of my life. There have been other difficult days of my life, from he got sober to friends who killed themselves. It's just really deep stuff that he goes into here. And I gotta say, to put yourself out there like that is really impressive, but wow. Now here's one of the sweet parts. He gets to where he was like, he was really surprised, and it felt really good when a lot of his friends, like his girlfriend, producer, agents, even actors that worked on his films and stuff, were all so supportive of him and so coming to his defense. And I was like, wow, like it's really great to see people, come and, help him out, defend him, because I mean, they would know how he's like, right? They worked with him for years. Some of these actors worked on him for like 2 films, 3, 4 maybe, if you count the Avenger films. His agents would know how he is. His girlfriend, for goodness sakes, would know how he is. So for all of them to come defend him, because they don't really have to. I mean, these are just colleagues, some of these actors and all, like Chris Pratt and all. They didn't really have to come to his defense and do that letter that they posted a year ago or whatever. Like, he's just some person that works with them, but they all went to defend him. So that really shows how good of a person he is, because why would they? I mean, there's just no real need to. And also, it just shows what good connection that they all have on this movie franchise, The Guardians, and it makes it so much more special when you watch the films, that they really are kind of like this family on set and in the movie. So I just think that's really cool. He goes through how he feels like he can't have love, and he's been alone and stuff. So like, he's really putting his heart into this interview. And I've seen some critics are saying, oh, he's just doing this for sympathy and all. But no, I think I give him credit for this. This is really deep stuff that he's admitting to people to read, and it's really opening up. So I think this is a really awkward. I'm just getting chills, because I can't imagine myself opening up and saying personal stuff like this in front of people for them to read and watch or whatever. So this is really powerful stuff that he was doing. And that's kind of the reason why I wanted to make this video. I know it's a bit rambled, and I'm not really saying that much new stuff and all that hasn't really been said, but I don't really see a lot of people talking about this, except for some of the daily news sites for movies. But I don't know, I just think this was really important and really good that he was able to step forward, and really brave. I would say it was really brave, because I don't know if I could come through if I was in a situation like this. I don't know if I would want to admit stuff like that, but he is, so I find that great for him. And so yep, here's more of the interview, and he even admits, yep, part of my fault. He's done a lot of wrongs in his life. A lot of stuff that he's done has led to this, and yeah, basically just more stuff. And see, it was the really good advice I'm assuming he was given, or he just thought of it, where you know what, buy social media. I'm just not even going to talk about all that. And he even admits, like, a lot of people that are really inclined and really deep into like Twitter and YouTube and all that kind of stuff, he even admits it's really hard. Like, once you get addicted and hooked to that kind of online stuff, it's really hard to take a step, you know, kind of back out from it. But he even admits, like, when he was like in like the real world, I'd say, kind of like that lesson from Ready Player One, how you should be able to go out and not be in virtual reality and all that kind of stuff. That's basically what he's saying here. It's such a surreal moment and all, to like be out there and put yourself out there and just stop being online all the time. So that's pretty great. And yeah, he just about that. And yeah, so naturally everyone wanted to pick him up after being fired because he's a really talented director, and a lot of people were on his side and did not like how this situation was handled at all. So everyone was like, oh, let's get him, and also that made him feel better, like, oh, so I will have a career after this whole situation. So that was really great. Everyone's like, yes, let's have you, you're talented. He was, of course, nervous at first because Disney's probably the biggest company in the world for movies and industry and all that kind of stuff. So when they fired him, he's like, oh, I'm screwed. But now everyone's all like, we want you, let's take you, and you're really talented and stuff. So that at least gave him some reassurance on, okay, I still have a career. I'm not gone. And here we get to like the last section, which I think is probably the most telling section. And he was asked about which characters or themes were you most excited to see in the third film, and he says that the ones that he wanted to see through was for Rocket, which I find very interesting. And a lot of people don't talk about this part in the article. I think this is probably the best part. He's like, you know what, this character is my favorite. I relate to this one the most. This character is literally the reason why he almost didn't do the movie, but yet overall why he did do the movie. When you look back on it, about how when he was first offered it, he's like, why would I want to do this? It seems stupid, blah, blah, blah. But then he started thinking about how would this character be created? What kind of stuff has he gone through and all that? So that made him want to do it. And obviously, he's put some of his insecurities and turmoil and all into this character. So I see, like, I just could not see the Guardians films continue without him finishing them off, because these are really his characters. I mean, they weren't created by him, obviously, and all, but in the movies, they're his characters for sure. So I think it's really great that he's able to finish their stories, and especially for Rocky, he says he had an arc that started in the first film and that will end in Guardians 3. God, I hope that means that the Rocket doesn't die, because he's my favorite character in the MCU. A close second's Iron Man, of course. Those are my top two for sure. But I think that was really great. And then, of course, while on the topic about Rocket, Bradley Cooper, who plays Rocket, also had that Star is Born, which, oh, I love A Star is Born, blah, blah, blah. So with all that, that's basically the overall interview section of this video. I'm sorry if it went on a bit rambly and I repeated myself and I stumbled over. It's just, I wanted to do a video on this because a lot of people weren't. I didn't have as much to say, but I still had something I wanted to talk about with this, because I think this was a really important and really great interview and article that was made. So I recommend you all read it for yourselves and all, but basically I just showed you the whole thing. But if you want to go check it for yourself, I really recommend it. So that was basically the overall article of the video. Now, like I've been saying and throughout the video, I thought it was really great. It was really powerful, and it was really brave, I would say, to open up on some issues like that, to just talk about. I mean, I can imagine me doing something. I mean, first, I don't think I'd do something that stupid again to that situation, but to just open up and talk about it, even after it's all been said and done, it's all good. I don't know. I find that really admirable. I mean, I don't see myself doing that in the future if I ever get into a situation like that, because it just seems really, it just seems really awkward. But he did, and you know what? Good for you, James. I mean, it must have been just a surreal situation, and I'm glad you were able to get back into the groove. You're able to direct 2 movies now. You're able to finish your series for Guardians while also doing that Suicide Squad movie. So that should be really interesting, because everyone was comparing Suicide Squad to Guardians and basically how that's the DC version. Now we're literally having the director of Guardians do that, so I find that really cool. But yeah, with this whole interview and all, what did you guys think of it? I would really like to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you want to hit the subscribe button, that'd be pretty great. Hit the bell as well so that you could get notifications on when I upload. And also, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's SoraSable or @SableSora. Again, thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.